At the end of the 50s, at my time at the Royal College, 57, I got a traveller, which then took me through France and studying the Romanesque, into Italy, and then into Greece. And coming away from that experience, it was inevitable that it was clear to me my head was full. My sculptor's head was full of the Michelangelo's Pietas. And it was inevitable that at some point I would try to produce a Pieta. So it happened in the end, at the end of the, it was around 74, I was in a timber yard searching for another piece of tree for a commission. And I noticed this tree, which I immediately saw in my mind's eye, the Pieta. So that's how it came about. I took on more than I could chew, because it took me the next 7 years to actually realize, because it trapped me. I couldn't find an answer to it. But the answer came through other ideas where I needed to talk about the piece in time. Now, the Pieta began to realize that my solution was where Christ on the cross had said to John, "Behold your mother," like handing his mother on. And the idea of Christ handing his mother on to the viewer. So I start with the arm of the Christ, which is unformed. It is simply the found object. And the hand is only the beginning of the statement, and it's fragmented like the Rondinini Pieta. So there's a reference there. You move through to the hand of the Christ rising from the ground, which of course is a kind of opposite to the death image, but it's rising to hand on to the mother. The mother then receives the hand, is the receiver. You work through the mother with like a serpentine flow of the form to the head, and then you move through from the mother. You move to the other hand of the mother, turned and handing on to the viewer. The ideas within the piece is very much about using the head, particularly, is part of that experience I had in Greece. I saw an exhibition of Cycladian work, and I was absolutely bowled over. And so there's a touch of my experience of the sense of the Cycladic in the head. It needed to be a universal head. It mustn't look like anyone. But anyway, the idea of the brass collage is to add a dynamic through light to the mother as a life form. The same material on the Christ is dull, but can be affected. It can be polished to achieve light, so you get an idea of the transfiguration. The Pieta was first shown in Durham Cathedral in the beginning of the 80s. In 84, it actually the York Minster, the chaplain to the arts in York Minster, Francis Miney, asked me if it could go to York on exhibition. So it arrived at York in 1984, coinciding a fortnight later with the roof on fire. But interestingly, she was protected by a falling beam, but the Christ on the floor took all the battering. But you will notice on the Christ figure splashes of lead, of molten lead coming from the roof, and the mother figure was splashed with molten lead on the brow and on the knees. But strangely, it actually, that history improved, in my mind, the meaning of the Pieta. The trauma, there was a piece of vocabulary here which I couldn't invent, but it actually speaks of the trauma of the piece, which is a communication which that has its value.